Damn, morning just flew by. Okay. Good afternoon. I should know what time it is. Shitting. So Bernstein here. I'm here to talk today about gym wisdom. Some shit I heard in the gym today by a yoga teacher. I'm noticing that really mindful, wise, and good embodiment practitioners, personal trainers, yoga instructors, group fitness teachers, and all kinds of other teachers, like Pilates teachers, like my wonderful partner Natalie, often have a lot of amazing wisdom when we listen to their messages about the actual physical movement and we slow down, we peel back, and we make the effort to apply it to other places in life, right? Because everything is a symbol. And the body works very similar to the mind. And the mind and the body work very similar to relationships. They are in relationship, if you can even separate them. So what I want to talk today about is the capacity to power through your challenges. Now, some of us are very forceful. We can overcome big hurdles. We can get large amounts of work done. We can push through conflict in this like courageous and powerful way. At the end of the day, that's an amazing thing to have. But a lot of the time, those of us that are used to using force don't know what true power is. And I want to use this gym metaphor, this yoga metaphor, to teach you about this concept. So I was at the gym this morning and I decided to like get in some good cardio, get in some good strength training. So I did a little kettlebell work. I did a little work on the rowing machine, which always gets me all fired up right before a yoga class. And it was a power vinyasa yoga class. Now, some people who haven't done yoga probably have no idea what that means, but essentially what this means for this particular teacher is that he focuses heavily on parts of the body that we derive power from, which is going to be our quads, right? Our quads, our hamstrings, our hips, our glutes, our lower core, and a little bit of chest and back work, but mostly in that center area of the body, that power center where we bend and fold and get most of our power from our hip action. And it also means that instead of being a fast flow, like I love some classes that are very fast flow, it's a very slow, intentional flow that's designed to actually cultivate real power in the body. Now you might think moving very fast is powerful, but the truth of the matter is moving very slow is where power matters, right? Because if I can actually move very quickly through something, I don't need to notice or pay attention to or even stabilize some of the pieces of me, some of the parts of my body that might not actually be able to hold or stabilize, or I might not even notice where there's weakness if I move fast. So at one point during the flow, he taught us the flow, and then of course we were going a little bit faster through it. And he said, now I want you to do it at your own pace, but I want you to do it really slowly. Who can be the last person done? And he said this amazing line. He said, I want you to notice the moments, the postures that you want to speed through. Notice when you speed up. Notice when you move fast. He said, because when you're moving fast, most likely there's a weakness in your body. There's something that you dislike, some discomfort that you're not able to maintain or able to hold. And he said, your practice actually grows when you slow down through the movements that you normally power through, that you normally speed through. So pay close attention to that. And I want to actually tell you to do the exact same thing when it comes to your personal growth, when it comes to creating changes in your life, when it comes to building new habits, when it comes to moving through a very challenging time in your life. I'm the kind of guy that I was able to achieve a lot powering through my problems. Back in the day when I was still very overweight and I decided to commit to my body and I wanted to drop the weight, I used a lot of power to power through. Right? I used a lot of force both in my food restriction and in my physical movement. And as well, when I wanted to grow and I wanted to heal from the trauma of my marriage ending, I powered through, right? I didn't focus on grieving. I didn't focus on healing per se. I focused on looking at the parts of myself where there are still weaknesses and developing and strengthening those parts. But I didn't necessarily take the time to look at my blind spots. In fact, I was very focused on positive psychology. I was very focused on silver linings. I was very focused on training my mind to overcome my challenges rather than taking the time to slow down and really get into the meat and potatoes of some of my challenges and what set me up for the life that I didn't love, for the life that fell apart. I'm sometimes now only going back and realizing deeper messages, deeper things that were traumas for me, deeper challenges in my interpersonal relationships. I'm only now sometimes realizing the places where I feel powerless, where I feel hopeless, and my strategies to overcome when I feel like a victim. Rather than feel the pain, I'm the kind of person who's going to turn around and say, you know what, why don't we take lemons and make lemonade, right? So I learned to slow down. Now, additionally, this applies very much to things like growing a business, or starting a new workout routine, or deciding to get healthy finally. It also very much applies to conflicts interpersonally, conflicts in relationship. When you just want to get through the conflict, when you want to move fast to the end of it, it's actually time to slow down. Because what's happening is you're more focused on the end result and being relieved of the tension, just like you might be in a yoga posture, like a warrior 3, when your outer hip is screaming and everything's shaking and you just want to put your leg down and you move quickly through it rather than holding it and moving slowly into the next movement. In a conflict or a challenge or a setback in relationship, when you find yourself trying to move fast to resolution, you're skipping over some of the deeper work. You're skipping over some of the pieces and parts of the communication, of the relationship, or even of the awareness that you have of your own values and your own emotions that are actually a weak spot for you, that are a blind spot for you. So when I'm working with a client and they have a challenge in a relationship, they have a conflict in a relationship, what I always ask them to do is to check in with a few things. First, responsibility. Well, what's your responsibility? We love to blame others, and no conflict is resolved until we take responsibility for our part in it, and then we take responsibility for what part we want to play in resolving it. Next, I ask them to find their integrity. Now, I don't mean whether they're lying or being honest or telling the truth or whatever. I actually mean our integrity being, can we commit to making this particular conflict or challenge a piece of our growth? Can I decide that I'm going to use this to be a better person on the other side of it? And I actually ask them to get curious. What don't you know? What could the other person be thinking, feeling, experiencing, noticing? What could be some of their own issues that are coming into the picture here that you're not aware of? What's some data that you don't know? So responsibility, integrity, curiosity, I'm always asking for that. But then I always ask them for one more thing. I ask them to slow down. I ask them to commit to making the beginning, the first conversation in a conflict, just that, an opening, a beginning. I ask them to actually commit to not trying to resolve a problem or a conflict interpersonally in the first couple of conversations. I ask them to take bites, small bites, in dealing with the challenge, in dealing with the conflict, in dealing with the discord, in dealing with the problem. Because I want them to actually, A, establish some sort of shared reality between them and the other person. And I want them to actually be slow enough to focus more on learning about what's really at the depths of the challenge, as opposed to just patching it over, smoothing things over in the moment, and sweeping things under the rug. Because you know what? When we do that, our challenges, our problems will come up again. And again, this comes into play whether we're talking about interpersonal conflict, whether we're talking about new habits or new parts of ourselves that we want to grow, new capacities we want to grow. We need patience. And we need to focus on the places where we're speeding up, because if those are the places where there's juice, where there's learning, where there's power, if we actually slow down. So when it's time to create change, when it's time to move through conflict, when it's time to grow some part of us, some capacity, or some external project, Can you choose power over force? Force is actually exerting in a way that is not sustainable, that's not generative, that ends up hurting people. That's where people get injured, right? Force is fast. Power is grounded, slow, and focused on the big picture, focused on the long run. So that's my challenge for you today. When you're in a place of challenge or conflict or need for growth, can you slow down? Can you notice the parts where you want to speed up? And can you choose to accept a moment of power, move into power rather than sticking with just force? So I hope this is helpful. If so, drop a comment below. Peace. I'll see you on Monday.